Okay, my dog is a lot like the lab, very soft, fragile.
Okay.
She is sensitive, soft, independent, but we kind of put it all together. We're in utility A, we have 2 legs.
Oh, well, then you did something.
Right, but so if I can get her to play sometimes she won't play. She'll always eat.
Excellent.
Stand for exam, she looks miserable even though she's a grand champion, and I only did the breed ring for obedience because I knew what I had. I had a soft dog. I said we went to 100 shows.
What kind of dog?
Mini poodle.
The little silver one?
Yeah, so she's soft. Her return.
You kept her in show coat so that you could have success in the obedience ring?
Yes.
That's commitment. I want all of you to be that committed. When I say head on out to Home Depot for 10 minutes, I want you to remember this lady grooming her poodle for hours so that she could go in the confirmation ring.
But also because 20 years ago, all those ladies with the good poodles had them in show coat. Right?
You keep your dog in show coat for the obedience ring.
Oh, I think she's a grand champion, and if she gets an arch or a mock, I want her in show coat.
Well, couldn't you just?
But if I get another one, she gets cut down. I'll only have one in good coat.
All right.
So the last few shows, all her points off are really go out,
All
but
right.
it's a green dog.
Yeah.
So
What does she do?
the first time it was glove 1, and then she went to glove
Sure.
1 for both go outs.
Typical.
And the second time she went all the way down the middle and then came in almost all the way. So she was 10 foot,
Hold on, wait. She went all the way out. So you called the sit and she came back to you?
right, but she did the really big angle and she got them both. You know, so she came in on both of them, but she went to the right, and so she got the jump on the left. But my main thing is her attitude for the stand for exam, and her return is slow,
Yeah.
and finding go out in new places because we're green.
Wait, and you're right. That is the issue. Go outs are really difficult because every single location has a different background, has a different everything. So I'll give you my general thoughts on that, and we'll get to.
But she also has that very soft demeanor.
That's irrelevant because the way I train it, it just doesn't matter if it's a hard dog or a soft dog. I'm
Right.
not going to do anything to your dog.
Right.
The way I approach any challenging exercise, distance is the last thing I add. So I want to say, can you do a go out at 5 feet? All right. Can you do a go out at 5 feet when a person is sitting behind it? That's pressure. All right.
Right.
Can you do a go when 2 people, when a dog is behind the fence? I'm at 5 feet, 5 feet, 5 feet because I can be quick. It's 1 second of pressure, they're out of there, right? Go touch. Yes, look at you. Go get the frisbee. I'm so smart. Ready? Go. Right? And I can get in a whole lot of repetitions. When you start adding distance, and I too have that urge to get back. We all do. It's like, this is progress, right? This is progress. But progress is really, can you take pressure? That's the biggest thing. And can you find your way? So can you mark perfectly for 5 seconds? Close up. Go. Reward that. And it's okay, start with 1, 1.5, 1 3/4. Because once you start adding distance, in my opinion, in a competitive utility class, and I'm going to assume that you have a competitive utility class here, go outs are the make or break it.
Right.
So when Mr. 200 dog comes in and misses his go out, that's now a 199. Hits it twice, 198, you're out of the running. I mean, at that point, right? And so when I watch the really, really good dogs, most of us know that go outs always have an element of, right? Luck isn't the word I want because that's not true. But perfect healing dogs are not going to just stop healing. They're just not. But perfect go outs have a way of, at any given time, being a challenge, right? And my dogs were really pretty good at go outs, but it was definitely a place where you're always kind of going, it could, any given day you could go. One thing I got very good at was looking down on my dog. And you know, I'll tell you, if you watch me, if I'm back 50 feet and I'm looking there versus there, here it's dramatic because I'm only 10 feet away. But when you start getting back, the difference between looking there and there is actually tiny, right? Because it's a relative angle of the head. And I would look down at my dog, mark, and I would think they marked correctly. And I realized this even in training, that I actually could not look down on my dog and be sure once I got past some distance, whatever it was, right? And what I learned is that if I really looked carefully, I knew when they were right, and I thought they were right when they were wrong. How's that, right?
Okay.
So if I was sure they were right, and there was no question they were right, but if I thought they were right, then I was wrong. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so then what I would do, because I figured at some point, you just, if you're a utility bee, and if you want a notch, then at some point, you can't afford that point. So then what I would do, in the ring, I would mark, and if I saw anything, I would break the dog out, I would reset, I would mark again, and we'd start over. My thinking was this: if I did that twice, some judges will hit me for it. What difference does it make?
Okay.
The fact is, if my dog goes to the wrong stanchion, all I wanted was notch points. I'm not there to qualify. So it didn't matter anymore. It was like, well, I'll just, because it's not going to be a good go out. And that actually, as a strategy, worked pretty well for me. And I don't think a judge ever took anything for me resetting and remarking, right? They could call it training in the ring, but I didn't see it happen. So make sure when you look down on that furry head, you know where that nose is going, right?
So
and
you'll
really
break
work
them
on it.
out of it and then start over. Okay.
Because the exercise hasn't started. You know when the judge basically pretends like you're doing, you know, they all just ignore you for, it's, you know how it is, right? So they ignore you and you train. So as you're doing it, if I look down, even if the judge is looking at me, i.e. You did your thing, right? Oh, you're such a good boy, ready? Mark. Are you ready? Ready. And that dog needs to be able to hold that mark from the looking up, judge asking if I'm ready, responding I'm ready, to ascend.
Okay.
So I know some people get carried away with this. You know, they're going for a minute. Well, that's wonderful if you have a retriever. I do not have a retriever, and my dogs are not going to stare at nothing for a minute. But some dogs will. But they definitely be able to, I would say 5 to 10 seconds, that's just realistic, right? And if the dog stops marking and looking up, the odds that they shoot forward in some random direction goes way up. So they may get themselves out there, but are they going to remember which stanchion? Maybe not, right?
Okay.
In terms of getting there, though, it's all within 5 feet. Here's an exercise I did with my young dog the other day. I call her young because at the rate we're going forward, she'll be very old when we get in the ring. I took a tarp.
Okay.
I put the whole tarp, big fluffy tarp, I put it all out here. You could see the stanchion, but it was all in the way. Mark, go. I mean, I started by we both walked on the tarp together. I didn't want her afraid, but I made it complicated. Touch, you're so good, you're so good. And then fluffed it up. So she had to really concentrate. You could see her having to make an effort because the stanchion was, you know, there's this thing on the ground. She had to really think about, where am I going? And then I actually was making a point of how about if I kind of cover this? How about if I take jumps and jump and put it all in between? The other day I did my go-outs, there were tables. Well, I didn't set this up, it just happened to be the way it was. I was at a school, so there was a big round table where kids eat here, and then there was another one like here, and so they were sort of offset, so they created a chute, except that they were close enough together that the dog had to kind of go like that. Then I put her treat and train at the end and was sending her 100 feet, because it was just, go no matter what. Go if there's garbage on the ground. Go if there's a table. That was for her.
Treat and train. I bought one. It's still in the box. So you can tell me how to use it.
Oh, love it, love it, love it.
Me too.
Well, there's a lot of things you can do with it, but one is just the quickness of the reward, and you control it with a remote. I put it behind the ring, and the thing goes through. Now, because I had my tarp, how convenient, I threw it over the whole pile. You can't even see the treat and train. But what I wanted to get at is how many repetitions can I get in?
Right.
So I'm 5 feet back, not so far, 10 feet. Mark, is it a good mark? If you have that treat and train out there, the odds that the dog will stay marked are better, right? And at first it was just click the thing for looking, send.
Okay.
So her looking causes me to push the button. Then you had to get a little closer, then you had to get a little closer, then you had to respond to my sit cue, which I taught separately.
So
if you don't respond to the sit,
work
I don't
on
push the
that,
button.
yeah,
So you have a ton of, that's why I never put food on the stanchion. I need to be able to control that. But the other thing I like about the treat and train, it has helped me get distance. So when I go to a park or something, I can actually start sending her 100 feet. And that is giving her freedom to move.
And you carry your stanchions, your gates with you.
No, I usually just use metal fences that have poles, cyclone fences.
Okay.
Because they're usually spaced at 8 feet. And so I associate it with a line. So I walk up, mark that one, go touch it, reward. Then I put this treat and train there, back it up.
Because as I've been eliminating something on stanchion, she's now, instead of running really fast, she's bowing. She gets there, but it's not a straight line, it's a round line.
Yeah, then you have a few options for that. One is teach her how to turn the other direction. Does she always bow the same direction?
Pretty much.
Most dogs do. So if her choice is to bow this way, then I want you to teach her a cue that means turn this way and sit. Dogs don't want to do that. They don't want to go out this way and then turn. That's way too much work. So they just straighten themselves up. The second thing you can do is if you do use a target, always put it on this side of the stanchion.
Okay.
And then when she starts going that way, then you would put it there. And that straightens them up. Because it's not where it's supposed to be in their mind.
Right.
Right? But with the treat and train, then I would put it on this side for her, if that's her direction. It would actually be here.
Opposite, yeah.
But the treat and train, it's an aid. You know, I mean, you take it away, your dog is not going to have a go at. It's not like it's a miracle. But what it's done for me is it's given me very, very long go outs with a good attitude. Okay. So separate from all this training stuff, you go to a park, the dog sees you put it at the furthest point, whatever that is. If there's a wall, go there. Don't do it in the middle of the park, right? It's gotten the dog mark. I see it. You can't miss it. It's a big old white box. And a nice trajectory out. And if I want to call to sit at 150 feet, you really should sit. Because if you don't, I'm not going to push the button. I've really liked that. Okay. And then I like that my dog can sit out there while I keep pushing the button. Sit, push the button. Sit, push the button. They have no motivation to creep because the food is behind. And it's allowing her to develop confidence as I'm getting much further away. Then you go in the ring and that 50 feet doesn't seem so painful. Right. But does it transfer directly? No. You still better teach your dog something with the stanchion. I am thinking, because of how my training area is set up, there's actually a drop below. How convenient is that? Like I planned it, you know what I mean? Because there's railroad ties on the top. I may actually start putting the treat and train outside the ring down. So send her, sit, and a cue to go out over the gates and just get the cookie or something. I have to figure it out. My little dog, he just goes right through, so that's that. Yeah, much to my horror, the first time I realized baby gates don't mean a thing. He doesn't even break stride. He just, on he goes. But I would, if you have one anyway, start playing with it. The other thing is dogs enjoy it. It's a game. So I've been putting it there with the little thingy going, and then I'll do something like go, cookie, take another cookie, throw it down. Go get it, go, 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 go. Now I'm all the way out here. I'm not running back and forth, but the dog gets a lot of practice just running and hearing the word, go. And they do, because it's just a game of zipping. It's much harder to do that if you're baiting the target, because you have to bait the target. So when you think about how many repetitions can you get in, can I get in 20 in a minute? That makes me happy, and I can. If I'm 5 feet away, go, get your cookies, go get that one, go. That's useful, right? Versus 1 a minute if you have to bait your target. Not to mention the cue of you walking across is huge. Okay. Another thing I would work on, if you're doing straight lines, I would go to the park with my cyclone fence, I would mark, I would send, I would reward. Now we go to the next one. Over 8 feet, mark, send, reward. Now we go to the next one. I would work my way down that whole fence. And what I found, dogs know where they've been. So even at a brand new park, if you send to that one first and you go to this one, if I was back more than some number of feet, I don't know what it is, 25 maybe, they'll go back to that one. And so it was a chance in a very controlled environment to teach the dog, I don't want you to go where you've been. I want you to go where I send you. Okay. Because if your dog does screw up in the ring, the odds that they screw up the second go out are pretty good. They tend to go to the same space twice. So I really need the dog to understand that, really, straight ahead. So those are lots of general things. But the whole issue of proofing to make a dog stronger means how can you complicate this at 5 feet where you can make it positive? So I had the tarps. I routinely have food and toys in my training area. Somebody asked me once, I know what the glove is on the ground for. I know what the thing is, but what's this other thing for? And I said, I didn't clean up. I mean, it wasn't conscious. I choose to have a very messy training area because I think the reality, if I need a toy, I just pick one off the ground. If I need the food is sitting there. I think if you just train that way all the time, dogs get really good at kind of washing it all out and kind of going, and then you go in a ring and the dog's like, how easy is this? There's like nothing in here, except at the end there's a target. So make sure there's a good portion of, you know, crap, random stuff between you and where the dog has to go. I don't mean jumps, because don't mess with your life, right? But jump bars randomly on the ground would be fine. Jumps that have been turned over are fine. Just that whole thing is, yeah, there's stuff out there. Your job is to find that stanchion, no matter what is between me and the stanchion.
What if it's a show without stanchions?
Well, where I live, we show equally to baby gates and white poles, so I teach for both. I just train for both.